you married yet? Congratulations. Good on you. Oh, you're not married yet. What are you waiting for?
Under our law, the church marriage is not recognized.
What gives life to a marriage is the marriage certificate.
If you marry someone traditionally and you want to marry the person under the, you want to marry another person under the act, it's called bigamy.
Hold on. So you're saying if you marry someone traditionally,
yes,
and then take another person to court,
yes,
that's bigamy?
That's bigamy. It's a crime.
So there's this other issue. I was at a bank and this woman comes in claiming to be the widow of a certain man and wanted access to this man's accounts and basically all of the funds in that particular account. And she said, oh, I'm his next of kin. And they said, yes, we know it's written, but you need to go to court to get some other papers because being next of kin is not enough. And that was the first time I'm hearing of beneficiary. So please, explain to us, especially to everybody that's watching, when a spouse dies, what entitles you to his estate, especially when it comes to money in the bank? What is next of kin and what is beneficiary? What are the differences and which one should you insist on being, or at least putting on your document? My sister, which one should you try to be? So I'll start with you.
Okay, next of kin basically is somebody you can reach out to in case of emergency. Yes. So you don't acquire any right or liability with regards to the person who you are the next of kin. You know, this popular issue we'll have when people go to club or disco houses, you hear next of kin don't spend money.
Exactly, you spend your money on it.
So it's not possible. So that they are just taking it out of
context.
So it's actually the person that is the beneficiary that can actually spend to the tune he or she is bequeathed to. Exactly. So next of kin, the role is limited. He can plan burial and all other things, but he doesn't benefit anything. He doesn't inherit anything except it's directly given to him.
So if a beneficiary is not listed and maybe a spouse of a deceased wants to have access, what then do they do if they're not listed as a beneficiary, but they can prove they are the spouse?
If to answer that, if you're the spouse of a deceased, and you're married under the act, you are entitled to. So I'm speaking legally now. You're entitled. You are the next person that is entitled to his belonging. If he dies intestate, that's if he dies without a will. But if he has a will, he will list out, and you could be most likely you could be listed in his will or as the beneficiary of a trust fund or retirement plan or any assets that the person may have, money in the bank or properties. So if there's a will, you will be listed. Well, if the person dies intestate, the law provides that the first beneficiary is the wife, and then the children, if there's no wife, or if they are wives, excuse me, if they are, what's it called now? If there are no children, then his parents, and if his parents are no more, then his brothers and sisters. Just the
hierarchy is the wife, the children, parents, and then brothers and sisters.
Then have
grandparents comes before.
No, brothers and sisters.
Brother and sisters.
Yes, brothers and sisters of full blood.
Full blood.
Then grandparents. Then brothers and sisters of half blood. Then after that, then there's uncles and aunties. Then
so if rich man dies, see the number of people you can eliminate before I reach you way big brother. So because literally, because I know the number of times that a person dies and the brothers and the sisters pop up and they want to take the property of the man when the wife, the kids are still in the picture. So there's even grandparents.
But it depends on the kind of marriage. If it's a customary marriage, the customs of under which that marriage was conducted will come into play there. For instance, if it's in the Edo Kingdom, Benin, there's the Idi Igbe, pardon me, or the Idi Ojori. So they will share according to the number of wives, that's Idi Ojori, or the number of children, Idi Igbe. They have, and then different diverse cultures. affects how it will be distributed.
So that's why it's very important to have that legal marriage. Because
very
it just
important.
makes it
It's crucial.
easier.
It's crucial.
It just
Yes.
change. It just makes it a lot easier.
However, even if you don't marry under the act, that is court marriage, the person, your husband that is intestate,
Yes.
you can still inherit, regardless of what your culture states. Because one, for you to apply the culture, it has to pass through 3 tests. It's not repugnant to a written law, it's not repugnant to natural justice, and then it's not repugnant to public policy.
Speak English, please.
Repugnancy is just inconsistent.
Yes,
It is not
Yeah.
contrary.
Okay.
It's not
So-
contrary to these 3 things I
those
just
things.
listed.
Okay.
So
Alright.
once the culture have passed all this, then they can apply it.
So
But
in the customary court,
in the
Yeah, but
customary,
you know,
customary
when I-
court can give you that, give
That's it.
the order.
So where is the instance? Because when I was in the bank,
Yes.
and they asked this lady to go to the court to get a probate something.
Yes.
Letters
So
of
letters of
administration.
administration.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because she wasn't listed as his beneficiary.
He cannot list anybody in his
Is-
bank as his beneficiary.
Okay.
It's the probate registry that will determine who his beneficiaries are.
So they have to go and get that
Yeah,
and come back to the
what
bank.
she needs to do as his next of kin is to more or less rally around to coordinate the procedure. That's the extent of her legal rights in that situation. However, if by the time they go in as if she's legally married to him, she's entitled to get the letters of administration. But she cannot just go in and say, "Okay, my husband don't go, deal with me, give me the money."
You have
she
to
can't
prove
do
it.
that.
You have to
You have
prove all
to go to the probate registry. They will do the due diligence. They will do the interviews. They will see the certificate of marriage, all of that, and then it's a procedure. There's going to be the waiting period. It's a procedure, and then after a while, after everything listed is met, all the due diligence is done, then the letters of administration will be granted to her if she's, if at the end of the day she qualifies to be the administrator.
The
And then when she becomes the administrator, then she has to be guided by, maybe his will or something that he
It's
has.
a long process.
I think
It's a long process.
I think to obviate all this, there is a form, I've forgotten the name, is obtainable outside the country,
Okay.
which the banks use.
Okay.
So those of you in the banking sector should just help us, even if it's to push the bill.
So that they
Now,
can have it here in Nigeria.
yes,
It's
the-
like, is it like a prenuptial?
No, not a
document?
prenuptial form. The form is while you're opening your account,
Okay.
in that form, you are filling that if anything happens to you, the money and everything that is in that account goes to the person named on that form. So in that regard, you don't need to go to probate to get any letter and all that.
Okay.
So that's something the banks should do? Or you can
It's
insist?
not known to Nigerian
It's not known to
jurisprudence.
Nigerian jurisprudence.
It's not known to our
currently,
jurisprudence.
but it's
Currently,
obtainable
but he-
outside.
Proposing it
An
that we
advance-
should, emulate
Yeah.
it. I don't think we should.
Why?
It should never be too easy to lay your hands on a deceased person's property and just have it.
Okay.
It should always be. It shouldn't be. I'm not saying it should be stringent
But there
or
should be processes
there should be
involved
processes.
to
It should
ensure
never
that
be
this-
a click of a button. Because
It's my personal
people will just
private.
click.
Because already now take one go to the bank. I will draw.
You even say, I want to collect ATM. That's what I came for. I don't want anything.
Oh, it now turns to the
Yes.
popular slang. The next of kin don't go spend.
Exactly.
It's
I agree. It shouldn't be that easy. Okay, one more thing before we round up. We round up the session, and I think this works well for you, and I want your perspective as well as a man who's about to get married. You just got
Who's
married.
about to get married?
I'm prophesying. I'm prophesying. There's also another debate on social media. And it's not just a debate on social media, it's also a debate across board, because I experienced a bit of that during my time. The changing of your name as a woman when you get married. Some women believe I should have the right to keep my name. Why must I change my name to my husband's name? And there's some people who have issues with hyphenation, like my name is Gloria Ojemodi, it's hyphenated for reasons, very important reasons that, of course, we will get to a little later. But then what do you think, first of all, as a person, what's your thought on holding on to your maiden name for some reason best known to you, and what the law says? Because I know some religion don't even mind, but what does the law say about that? Does that stop you from having any specific kind of right if you don't change your name at all?
Okay. Legally speaking, you have every right to keep your name. So I think those are conversations you have to have with your partner before you get into the marriage, and see if he aligns with your choices, you know. But legally, there's no law in place.
Yeah.
I don't know if counsel but there's no law in place that mandates you or that makes it compulsory for you to take up your partner's name. But
These are now social matters.
Practice,
yeah. Okay.
You know, it's usual practice and usual cultural practice. You know, it's what obtains around this part of the world. So your husband's family will naturally expect you to take his name immediately after in fact, everybody will begin to call
On
you
the day of
Mrs. this, Mrs. that.
yeah.
So basically, even if you don't change your name, it doesn't stop you from having the full rights of a wife under the law.
It doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't prevent you. However, it will makes it easier for you to, you know, in the event that in his will he says my wife will have XYZ property. You know, you
And
don't
the
need
name
to
is
start laboring to
explain that this is
who
me.
is the wife.
Well, I think
but then you still
the
have
lawyer
to.
comes in through the address. He will not just say my wife. You have to add that name.
The-
My wife, so and
no,
so
in
person.
this, this person is already gone. So
No, while
you-
drafting the will, he
Okay,
still alive.
he may have
So,
just read. You know, people make audio wills.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
So
in that
people
case,
may even make their wills on their dying bed.
Yeah.
So they will leave. A lot of things could be left out.
Yes.
So going back to the question, retaining your name, there are pros and there are cons. You
Pros?
know, the pros. I should speak to the
Yes.
pros now. Like I just said
Yes.
now, it gives you loosely, let me just use the word loosely, gives you rights to your deceased husband's properties.
That's
you know.
keeping your taking your
Taking your husband's name.
Taking your husband's
Yeah.
name. Yeah, the pros of taking your
your
husband's
husband's
name
name,
now.
yes.
Then you don't have to explain to people
I am his
I'm
wife.
his wife. And then the passport issue, you know, sometimes you go for interviews, visa interviews, and somebody, I mean, if the person digs deep enough, you can explain, but you may never get the chance
The opportunity to explain.
that-
But then I also know that when you want to travel with your kids, you don't have to keep explaining they are my children. Because if you're also bearing the name of your husband
you
and
don't
your
have
children.
to, it just, you know, takes away that
Yes,
extra drama.
What about the cons?
The cons now, if you may have built a brand, your identity, you remember when we started this conversation, we were talking about Twitter and
Yes.
and I said X and we were lost for a
Yes,
second.
yes.
You know, it's a germane shift from who you have been. So you might be
Reluctant?
Reluctant
is my word.
No, I'm not even trying. I'm trying to give an example of a lady who has built a niche for herself.
Linda KG, if she
Linda,
decides to marry.
yes, and then she's now Linda Njoku.
Yeah.
Where are we going to start getting used to that
Exactly.
for? So those are things that you need to discuss with your partner, because I will not advise her to do that, because her name is her brand. There are many people who the name they bear there is what they stand for, you know.
So having to change your name
having
is
to change that will change it. To just change
Personality.
disrupt the flow of
Exactly.
your personality. So
Well,
you're a man.
individuality.
Ordinarily,
as a man, does that bother you if your wife doesn't want to change her name?
Not really, but ordinarily, taking into account the benefit that the woman gets when they get married to a man, that a man does not get when they get married to a woman. Yes.
Wait. Did you just say? Wait. Calm down. Are you trying to say that a woman gets extra benefits for taking his name, but the man does not get any extra?
Take for instance, there's practical one. I think 2 months ago, some judges were sworn in.
Yeah.
The chief judge, the just immediate past chief judge of Nigeria, Ariwola, the daughter-in-law, she's not from Oyo State, but the quota she used to get into under Abuja, you have this federal character issue, so every state must be represented. So she's taking over the slot meant for Oyo State people. But a man cannot do that.
Is she not from Oyo State because she's now married?
She's not from Oyo State by origin. She is married to someone from Oyo State.
And does that not make her?
A man cannot do that.
Oh well.
Wait, does that make you automatically from Imo State? Let's say from Oyo State. If you get married to somebody,
if you get married to somebody from Oyo State, you automatically swap to Oyo State. Every right benefit accorded to somebody from Oyo State is accorded to you. Is there any? Yes, check.
Can I contest governorship?
Yes, you can.
Of the state.
Mary Odili is from Imo State.
Yes.
Her husband is from Rivers.
Yes.
She became a judge through Rivers.
She became a judge through. She became a judge in Rivers State. You can be a judge. Even a Hausa person can be a judge in Rivers State. It's not. Even if it's difficult, that is usual practice. That is not the law.
Name one person that is from. Let's remove
there are many
Abuja.
Judges,
let's remove
northern
Abuja
judges
and Lagos.
In Kogi State.
Yes, let's remove Abuja and Lagos. It's difficult to get somebody in Rivers.
My brother, I know my usual practice.
I know my
usual practice, no matter how intense it is. Okay, I never take away.
I'm dealing with this thing. Well, let me tell you how crazy it is. I'm also dealing with this because I'm from Abia State and I married a man who's from Anambra State.
Okay.
I tell you, this is a dilemma because do you know every time someone asks me where are you from, I have to pause a bit because sometimes it feels like I have been from Abia State all my life. I don't know this, but every time I have to explain
because I'm 3 months in marriage.
I feel like I'm from my husband. Exactly. It doesn't feel like it. But can you contest? No. Can I from Abia State contest in Anambra State because of marriage?
I think there is. There is currently. I can't remember, but I think there's somebody in the National Assembly who is contesting through marriage. Not the state
but you know
origin.
there are things that other factors that will come into place. Maybe you have lived there, you have become so popular in the place. These
people have lived in Abuja all their life.
Plenty conversation.
So it's difficult for the man, but
let's
it's
not
easy
reduce
for the
it
woman.
I mean, I don't think maybe if I see a document, if I see it in one of the laws.
It's not a law. It's custom. It's practice.
That's why I said usual practice.
Yeah.
So you cannot say that is one of the benefits that a woman gets from the husband legally.
That a man cannot get. Anyways, let's roll this up because there are a few more questions that I need to ask. Listen, I just need you to go to the comment section and give us your thoughts on what we've been discussing because this has been a blast moves. And right now you will understand because there are so many different stands on the conversations that we have had. This is enough reason for you and your spouse or the intending person you want to marry to sit down and talk to a lawyer and understand what happens when you get married down to the nitty-gritty. There's still more to come on this conversation, but just hit the subscribe button on the screen and put on the post notification because the part 2 we're going to be talking about prenuptial agreement. Prenup, you should have. Sorry, I'm not asking you to. Anyway, stick with us. As a married woman, if your man had provided or presented to you a prenuptial agreement, would you have signed it?
I'll be factual and honest. I must pause before I go on. I must think about that. Is this what he's thinking?
If I buy a property in my wife's name, it's presumed to be a gift from me to her. But if she buys in my name, it's not so. It's presumed I'm holding a trust for her.
When a woman builds her brand in her husband's name, and for some reason there is divorce, does she still have the right to maintain that name?